Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about how to price your event planning services, and I'm going to talk about two different service types. One is like corporate meetings, conferences, things like that, and the other one is how I price luxury retreats, because I kind of use like a different model. So if you are a new event planner, or if you want to get into the event planning space, this is for you, so you know how you can price yourself, like how you can be competitive in the event planning space. Let's get into it. Okay, so there's a few different things that I start. We're going to start with conferences and meetings. So these are corporate events that have like 50 to 250 people, and you are at a hotel planning that event, setting that scene. Okay, so the first thing, a rule of thumb, industry standard when it comes to this type of event planning is usually event planning ranges, or event planning fee ranges from 15% to 25% of the overall budget. Now, what I've run into is some people don't know what their budget actually is, so you kind of have to guess. Now, for my standard events that I've been working with, their overall event budget has been somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000. So $50,000 times 15%, that's roughly $7,500 for a $50,000 event, which is roughly 50 people in a meeting space for 4 to 5 days. I will let you know that this does not include my travel. I add any kind of travel on top of this. This would just be considered my planning fee. If we were planning a $100,000 event, that would be like a 250 person event with a lunch, networking reception, banquet, breakfast every day, AV, and the basic conference for that size. We take $100,000, multiply that by 15%, and that's $15,000. And this is like the bottom range, but I want to be very clear that this is for someone who is experienced, who has planned this type of meeting before. If this is your first conference, you may want to consider coming in around 12% and then budget in your forecasting of knocking it out of the park and pitching them at a higher rate the next year. A lot of the time when I'm working on corporate conferences, I feel like they have to see the value that they're getting, and then I can charge more for it. Now, that's just my take on it. I'm a recovering people pleaser, but it's worked for me really well in the last 2 years. The higher end of that is 25%. I have not charged 25% on a conference, but that doesn't mean you can't. That is if you have, I recommend charging 25% of the overall budget if you have a team to support, if you have multiple people that are helping you plan these events throughout the year, they're going on site, and your overhead is a little bit higher. That's when I would start raising the bar, raising it closer to that 20 to 25% mark, because you want to make sure that you can pay your team and pay yourself and run that business. Where I am just a little solopreneur, I have contractors that help me do specific things. I don't quite have a team to pay. I have a smaller expense percentage. So I feel very compensated at that $7,500 and $15,000 mark for what I'm delivering right now. If you are going for that 300 person plus event status, you will absolutely need a team to help you. And that is when I would start to look at how much can I actually charge for my services and still make sure that I turn a profit with the time and energy commitment that you're putting in. Now, that is for conferences and meetings. I want to talk about retreats. Oh, actually. Okay, if you're an event planner though, and you have an IATA, a CLIA, like an industry leading certification, and you can earn commission from the hotel, I would absolutely do that. Now, some of my prior mentors said what they would do and with their pricing is that they would have a set pricing, say $10,000, and then they would deduct from that $10,000 mark how much commission that they could earn on that event. Most 50-person events commission, it runs around $1,500 to $2,500 depending on the sleeping room rate. And because this is performance-based and your job is probably not bringing in the attendees, that would be your client's job, then I never really guarantee to reduce my fee by that amount. My fee is what it is for my time, energy, and effort putting into your event. If I can earn commission, that's cool, but I don't let the ability to earn commission drive my performance or what I get or what I give in my event planning services. I act as if commission is a bonus. I also still disclose to my client if I can earn commission or not. This is another reason I also feel very comfortable charging that 15% mark, because if you're at a hotel, I know that I can earn some sort of a commission from like being the planner. And so whatever that means I don't it's bonus, but I don't deduct a performance-based metric from my planning fee. I want to make sure that it's fair for me and for them. Okay, let's move on to retreats. Okay, retreats are a little different because they are a lot of work. A lot of creative work. So retreats kind of look like about 300 to 400 hours between the client calls, the research, the putting the event together, and then the on-site supporting the attendees. I do a little bit more hand-holding. I have Q&A sessions. I give the attendees a direct link to me. I am there 100%, 110% for my client and for their attendees. Because this is such a high-touch, luxury, white glove experience, I charge not 15% of the overall budget. I charge a lot more. And it's honestly an energy exchange. Retreats are just as much energy as a 50-person conference for me. So I tend to charge anywhere between $7,000 and $10,000 per retreat. This is a luxury experience. I usually cannot get commission because when I plan retreats, I plan what is best for you. I use retreat villas, which I can't get commission on. I use the best services that I probably can't get commission on. And so that's why when I plan retreats, I say, again, if I can earn commission, that's a bonus, but commissions don't drive my decisions and recommendations when planning any kind of event, truly. So this is an important distinction because attendees get more access to me. My clients get the same amount of access to me, but it's a little bit more hand-holding. There's more coaching around selling tickets. There's more coaching around client onboarding and offboarding, and a lot more high-touch white glove experience shakes out of my luxury retreats with my clients versus my conference with my clients. Ultimately, when it comes to pricing your own services, if you are new to this market entirely, I would start somewhere at 10% for both. Now, most of my luxury conferences have a budget of around $60,000. That's $6,000 at 10%. You're going to want to eventually start adding $500 there, $1,000 here to get that up to a financial stable point where you don't get burnt out because you're trying to add more clients instead of increasing your income. If you want to learn more about how to not achieve burnout as a new event planner, I will link that video in the show notes below. But when you're looking at your pricing, I want you to look at how much money you want to overall make for your calendar year. And I also want you to decide how many months out of that year you want to work and support events. I need you to be realistic with your time, commitment, and capacity, because I get super tired. And when I'm tired, I don't create content. And when I don't create content, I don't get new leads into my funnel. If I don't get new leads into my funnel, then I'm like, do I even have income for the next year? Because with retreats and conferences, I'm booking out 6 months to a year in advance. So I have to be thinking 6 months to a year ahead. So when it comes to how you price your services, go ahead and look at how many events you want to be on site supporting for a full calendar year. Just a number. If you already have some contracted, go ahead and put that in a calendar. And then once you put it into a calendar, I want you to add a week before and a week after every single event, because that's how much the week before any event is kind of chaotic, and the week after any event, you're trying to rush your batteries. And when you're trying to rush your batteries and you're trying to have the chaos of the next event, it will lead to burnout. And I'm trying to help you avoid that. So say your number is 12 events a year. And say you want to take 2 months off, where you have 2 months where you're not traveling, you're not doing anything. That means you have 10 months to support events on site. That is roughly 1-ish event a month, with a couple of months having 2 events per month. That is an amazing cadence that won't lead to burnout. So and we're just doing simple math. If you know that you want to support 12 events on site, 12 events on site times, let's say, that 15% conferences at $7,500, you are at $90,000 gross for the year. Is that enough for you? If that is not enough for you, then you need to look at raising your rates or adding additional streams of income. So when you add additional streams of income, that could look like your commissions from hotels. That could look like UGC content and travel content for the places that you're traveling for your events. You can stay an extra day, make a little extra money. That could look like digital products and maybe templates for certain places, or teaching people how you plan your own events. That could look like adding team, which could add the amount of events you can take on into your event planning company. So as you add events, you can add more income, which does raise your overhead. So you might not have a 60% overhead like I do right now, but factor that into as a possibility. You could start having like an event planning agency model where you have planners underneath you. You might have a sales team, or maybe that looks like outsourcing some of the tasks that you don't enjoy so you can spend more time doing the tasks that you enjoy. Either way, you're adding headcount, you're adding team, and you're adding expenses to your business in hopes that you can increase your revenue streams. So that is how I price myself for profit. I price myself as an event planner for corporate conferences and meetings and luxury women's retreats, but also some side income that I can use to raise my my gross receipts, my gross profit, and my sales income to a level that is sustainable for me, that doesn't lead to burnout, but it also hits my financial income goals. I'll see you on the next one.